our kidneys are filtering systems, right? So it filters all the waste products. It filters good things too. It filters kidneys, the glucose, but the kidneys will take back the good stuff. Your kidneys will never leak protein. Your kidneys will never leak glucose as long as it's healthy. And it will only get rid of toxins, uric acid, waste products that we don't need. So it's a filter, right? So think about it. And you have like millions of cells there. We call them nephrons. They're units. And they're tirelessly working 24/7. Now, as we get older, of course, nothing lasts forever. As you get older, you're going to lose some kidney function. Statistically speaking, after age 40, you lose 1% of kidney function every year. So even if you're the healthiest person in the world, that's why there's something called dying from old age. So if you live long enough, depending on your genetic background, everything will fail, even if you are on the healthiest lifestyle. But the point is, you have a good life, so you don't end up in dialysis centers to trying to make a few more years of life. So having said that, when you have diabetes, when you have high blood pressure, and in addition to that, you have high cholesterol and unhealthy eating habits, environmental toxins, a bad gut flora, intestinal flora, because of everything that we eat that are not healthy. And then what ends up happening is your body starts developing what we call oxidative stress. So there's too much stress, just like your life, like if you have too much stress going on, you feel stressed, and then you start even having bodily reaction and psychological reactions. So your cells are not any different. So when there is stress from too much toxins, too much blood sugar, too much blood pressure, then that oxidative stress that is not clear will accumulate and eventually will cause what we call cell death, which is apoptosis, right? Because that is a reaction that starts from high glucose, high insulin levels in the beginning, toxins, glycated end products, advanced glycated end products, we call it ADIS. So they accumulate and they sit in there in your body, in your cells, in your intracellular or intercellular matrix, triggering inflammation. It is unfortunate, but your body cannot clear. Your body can clear only so much of oxidation. And if you have too much oxidation, too much glycated products, it's going to induce more inflammatory reactions. And that inflammatory reaction will create a domino effect, and it will continue to basically become a vicious cycle and continue to happen unless you do take steps to reverse the oxidative stress. So you either reduce the oxidative stress or the factors that create oxidative stress and use antioxidant factors in your food, in your supplements, in your life. Even sleep can be antioxidant. When we talk about antioxidants, people only think of supplements as the antioxidants. Well, supplements are great. They're a good addition because sometimes it's hard to get all the antioxidants in your body, especially when you're a kidney patient. I hear that all the time from my patients. I'll say, well, diabetes doctor says something, kidney doctor says something. Everybody has a different diet. What am I going to do? There's nothing left to eat. Well, they're right. Because at that stage, I'm telling you, hey, eat low carb. And the kidney doctor says, oh, eat low protein, eat low phosphorus, eat low potassium. That's the most conflicting factor. So I call them avoid vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, and things like that, like the diabetes doctor. Of course, I know their kidney function. I wouldn't necessarily, I treat people holistically. But in general, I'll say any diabetes doctor will say, if you're treating you only for glucose, they'll say, eat low carb, vegetables are great, right? But if you're a kidney patient, kidney doctor will say, oh, well, your potassium is going high, your phosphorus is going high, Although, by the way, these things happen more in the advanced kidney disease. Most of the time in our system, in our medical system, we only treat when things happen. We go to the doctor when we are sick, when there's a significant problem. Although we should have maintained ourselves, still go to the doctor. And sometimes the doctor will say, what are you here for? You're not sick. Well, I'm here for not to get sick. We need to change the mentality in the whole health system. So, for example, I'll tell you something very interesting and listen to it very carefully. A lot of times, people will see the kidney function, which is glomerular filtration rate. A glomerular filtration rate, what it tells you is a filtration rate. Just think about it. It's a filtration rate. So if you have a cloth that you are filtering some fluid, and you can have a piece of cloth like this size, or you can have a piece of cloth this size. So let's say your kidney is this size right now, and I'm trying to filter some stuff, water with some stuff in it. I want to have pure water. I want to get rid of everything that is in the water through this filter, right? A membrane. I need certain pressure to push that water through that membrane, right? That's called glomerular filtration rate. Glomeruli is basically the unit on top of the nephron, the tiny vasculature, how much pressure do I need? And interesting, the glomeruli has an entry faucet and an exit faucet. It's like a little hose. So what kidney does, if there is not enough nephrons, if your nephrons are dying, if your kidney is dying, your kidney will say, wait a minute, I had 10 guys, now I'm down to 5 guys. How am I going to get this job done? Well, let me do this. Let me squeeze the exit part, like a little hose, to increase the pressure so that I can filter things. Your kidneys are smart. So what happens is your glomerular filtration rate goes up, although your kidney function is going down. And guess what? Doctors are looking at glomerular filtration rate. Well, that is okay. There's an indicator, but it does not really tell you how much damage you have. It is a late indicator. It's good when you are stage 3, stage 4, stage 5 kidney disease, because you have most of your kidneys are dead. They are relying on the last piece of that. I was giving an example of a cloth. Some cells, let's say 10% of your kidney left, 20%. Sure. But at the point, it's too late. Now, for example, when people come to me and glomerular filtration rate is like 120, 130, they say, oh, wow, look at my kidneys. They're so great. Well, not really. What's happening in the very early stage of kidney disease, in the beginning stages of kidney disease, your glomerular filtration rate will go up. It's going to go up from 100, which is supposed to be 100. It's going to be 110, 120. You're going to be like, wow, my kidneys are doing great. Not really. Your kidneys are struggling, my friend. Your kidneys are trying to increase the filtration because your kidneys already dying. And if you go to ask a regular primary care doctor, I'm not, downgrading them or anything like that, but they don't think that way because they are not trained that way. And they will say, oh, your kidney function is great right now. So because they're trained to send a patient to a kidney doctor when the GFR is less than 30. You know when the GFR is less than 30? You're pretty close to dialysis. Not cool. And what the kidney doctor do? Well, they put you on dialysis. Well, it's not a bad business, right? They pay good for dialysis. Now, our system does not pay primary care doctors who are trying to keep people healthy. Our system pays the health systems, the hospitals, for procedures, for expensive equipment they use. And as a result, doctors are not trying to harm you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is no incentive for anybody to keep anybody healthy. And doctors are doing their best, but even in medical school, they're not trained to keep people healthy. They are trained to fix problems. Like, oh, okay, if somebody has, let's say, kidney failure, stage 3, most forces are going up, why is this happening? They try to understand that, why is anemia happening? All that stuff. And they know how to fix the problems before people die. Well, that's great. We need to know that. But really, people don't sit down and spend time with patients and say, look, your GFR is 120, but there's actually a problem. And you should be more careful. But unfortunately, sometimes patients also will look at the labs and they'll say, what are you talking about, doctor? I read this myself online, I'm fine. And sometimes that happens too. Patients are better than the doctors nowadays, which is fine. But patients are also conditioned to get treated only when something is wrong. So you have to change the whole mentality. Now, that's number one. Now, how are we going to really then prevent the kidney disease from going down? Kidney disease from worsening? Well, number one, don't just look at the numbers. Understand that you have a problem. Number one, you have diabetes, you have high blood sugar, maybe a little high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. And by the way, there are a lot of YouTube doctors out there that say cholesterol is nothing, no problem. Well, normally it's not. But if you're diabetic, it's a big problem. Because what happens is the glucose will interact with protein and lipid and cholesterol. And the same cholesterol, which is supposed to help you, suddenly become oxidized. And now you have a problem. Now that lipid now is going to create inflammation and more oxidative stress for you. So as a result, you have to control everything. Get the numbers, blood sugars to the best level possible. Get the blood pressure and cholesterol under control with the diet and exercise, with the good food, reducing the environmental toxins, staying organic, drinking good water, reducing your stress, whatever you can do, meditation, yoga, anything that relaxes you, going out stores, whatever. And eat good food, right? So good food that will not spike your blood sugars, that will not introduce inflammation to your body. Because think about this. As a diabetic, you already have a lot of inflammation internally being generated. So you're sitting there, your blood sugar being higher, being insulin resistance and whatnot, is already generating a lot of turmoil inside. So you don't need anything from outside to come and bother you. So you need to make sure that you're putting the best in your body to ensure that there is no inflammation triggered or oxidative stress triggered. Remember, we're going to go back to the beginning. The oxidative stress is going to trigger inflammation that's going to kill your kidney cells. So that is the main thing that we are trying to avoid, to reduce the stress. So I'm almost done. I'm going to go ahead and get started taking questions. If you want to send your questions, I see some questions here that I'm going to put on the stage in a minute. But yeah, so I think those are the things. Number one is the healthy lifestyle we talked about. I'm certainly going to ask about supplements. Basically, B-complex vitamins are your best friend. Benzathiamine is going to be your best friend because benzathiamine will reduce the activation of the oxidative pathways. And alpha-lipoic acid is another great antioxidant that will reduce that inflammation or oxidation happening in your body. Preferably benzathiamine, alpha-lipoic acid, B-complex vitamins, and probiotics. So probiotics, for example, that we also have in our kidney support, I believe, probiotics are very important. You know why? It's a very interesting relationship where actually your kidney, your blood, as any toxins that is not filtered from your kidneys that is going back to your blood is going to end up in your intestinal system. And that will need to be cleared. So you either poop it out or you absorb it right back. So if you have probiotics in your system, good probiotics, they will eat those things like hotcakes. No problem, they're cleared. If you don't have good probiotics, they're going to be reabsorbed. Also, probiotics will create a good layer in your intestinal system to prevent the toxins from your food entering to your circulation through your intestinal barrier. We call that a leaky gut. So if you have a lot of inflammation and not enough probiotics, then you're going to invite all those toxins to your system, and that's going to wreak havoc in your system by creating this inflammation cascade. So if I want to summarize, so we talked about the lifestyle changes, improving your health conditions, good food, good sleep, exercise, another very important factor. Even if you cannot walk or run, you have to get your heart rate up. That is going to create a lot of nitric oxide and a lot of antioxidation in your body that will clear a lot of problems. In addition to that, B-complex vitamins will be great. A few vitamins you have to be careful about. I'll talk to you about that as well. But B-complex vitamins, the benzathiamine, which is a B vitamin, but it's more like a B1 thiamine, fast soluble, a lot better. Alpha-lipoic acid we talked about, and probiotics. Those are going to be your best friends. Now, you have to be careful about vitamin A. Oh, by the way, vitamin D is another one that I forgot to mention. Vitamin D is another very important one that you have to have enough adequate, levels. Because, again, these vitamins, you either, because of the dietary restrictions, like a lot of grains, for example, have all the vitamins, but we tell people don't have too much grain and they end up being deficient in certain things. Or because of the toxins in your body that basically eliminates the vitamins quickly, so you need extra vitamin supplementation. So that's why, supplementation come into play. Otherwise, if you're a completely healthy person with no problems at all, like no diabetes, no kidney disease, and you're eating healthy, that should be enough. That should be enough. You don't need supplementation if you do not have any health conditions that will require the supplementation. As somebody said, I have someone stage 1 kidney disease, but I confronted the doctor. Don't confront your doctor. Be nice to your doctor. Not telling me. I was told everyone is stage 1. Oh, God. So I think what he meant was Jason, I believe, Jay Payton. So I think what he means is that, everybody has some degree of kidney function. If, like I said, some sort of age-related or something like that. If his population is older, he's not talking about like a 25-year-old. He's talking about probably anybody in their 50s or 60s. They have some sort of kidney problem most of the time. And, the problem is when doctors tell all these things to the doctors, they just freak out. And then they ask for solutions. And since the doctors don't have any holistic solutions to offer, they'll say, oh, well, we'll wait until your kidneys get worse, and then we'll send you to a kidney doctor if it gets worse. Well, of course, they're trying to help you with your diabetes, high blood pressure, and stuff like that, which is great. But they don't necessarily give you all the diet advice or holistic advice that you deserve that have a huge role in reducing your kidney disease, even understanding, right? So most people think that, I have diabetes, I have some high blood sugar. Okay, my blood sugar is not 1,000, so I'm okay. I don't feel it. So what's the problem? So if you don't know how glucose is damaging your body, how can you really even have any motivation to do anything about it, right? So that's probably what your doctor meant by everybody has stage 1 by that. So let's see. My kidney numbers are falling. You need some advice. Yeah, look, a lot of times it's a fact that 40 to 50% of people with kidney disease never heard from any doctor that they have kidney disease. Just because it is just underdiagnosed and people don't want to talk about it because there's not a lot to offer. And it's not right. If doctor has nothing to offer, then what you got to do? So let's see. Do the BUN. Okay, BUN. A lot of places call this BUN, by the way, make me smile sometimes. Yeah, it is BUN. So it is the urea content, so blood urea and nitrogen. That's what is the abbreviation for. So basically, it is the urea is your body is trying to filter and excrete, and if your kidney cannot excrete it, it could be from dehydration. Because again, remember the pressure we talked about. If you don't have enough pressure because of dehydration, even if your filters are there, the filtering system is there. If there's not enough pressure, it's just not gonna come out. Be filtered. Think like a hose. If you don't open the hose enough, no water will come. So you have to have enough pressure. And that if you're dehydrated, sometimes your BUN will go up. It can be temporary. So if it is just dehydration, it may come back down. But if your kidneys are dying and your BUN is staying up and continues to go up, then yes, that is a problem. And they use the BUN as one of the way to calculate the glomerular filtration rate. But remember, glomerular filtration rate does not necessarily mean your kidney function. We use it as what we call these as a surrogate marker, or you can call that an estimate, okay? But it does not really tell you exactly how many kidney cells you have and how much you have lost. Another example for you that may be more easily understood. Now, diabetes, right? So when we diagnose diabetes in most people, they lost at least 50% of their pancreas, of their insulin producing capacity. Can they live with that? Yes, they can. But they lost it. It's gone. Same thing with kidneys. When you lose it, it's gone. It's not coming back. Your body does not make a new kidney. Your body does not make new kidney cells. Your body does not make new nerve cells. So you have to protect it. You don't have body parts that can be replaced either. So unless you want to go to, dialysis is what they do, right? To replace things. But you don't really have an option here. So you have to protect it. On stage 4, what can I do to stay off dialysis? Well, I forgot to mention, by the way, guys, since we are ladies, I concentrate on mostly on the holistic. But there are actually medications that you can do as well. There are like ACE inhibitors or ARB, angiotensin-renin blockers. They are actually have been shown to be very helpful. So you can start those at a low dose very early. If you have any sort of stage 1, stage 2 kidney disease, it's okay to start these things. They're helpful. They protect your kidneys. There is another medication called Kerendia that is relatively new. It's very expensive, but I've seen the data about it, and I've seen how much kidney function reduction on their studies. A lot of holistic things, they have studies, but they have small studies because all of these vitamins, nobody have time to pay or money to pay billions of dollars to make studies like these big companies do. And then they don't want to do studies on a readily available, let's say, methamphetamine everybody can buy on the shelf. So why would any pharmaceutical company invest any money that is already on the shelf? Generic, right? So they want to create these new molecules, right? This is the game, which is fine, but they're making their money. And they show in a study or multiple studies, which they involve all these thousands of people, they invest so much money because basically those people are getting paid to become a guinea pig, right? And then after that, they present to the FDA, and they have to pay a ton of money to FDA for them to even review it. And then FDA will say, okay, well, I guess it's okay. Your study shows, but they have to show something, right? So the Kerendia, for example, it shows benefit, which is great. It's better than nothing. And it helps a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people's protein in the urine going down with Kerendia and losartan type of medications, which is great. But the point is, you don't want to live on the medications, especially the expensive ones like this. Like, there is no study out there to compare a beta-thiamine alpha lipoic acid to Kerendia, which you can get a beta-thiamine alpha lipoic acid for, say $30, $20, $25, $30, versus the Kerendia is like $600. Well, do we really know which one works better? No. Why do they not confront, like those pharmaceutical companies, why do they not confront supplements and say, look, we compared our medication to a supplement, and supplement did nothing? They don't do that. Why not? I'm asking, why not? Because guess what? There's no money in it. They just want to say, oh, well, our medication is approved by the FDA. We spend $3 billion. We are there to make $10 billion. So that's how the system works. I'm not against the system. I just want you to understand that medications work. I'm not saying medications don't work. Do they have side effects? They do. But this, that because they're synthetic and all that stuff, but they still help if the patient is correctly selected. I just don't understand how a lot of doctors have no understanding of no study of holistic things that help people dramatically. There have been studies on those as well. They're just not as glamorous studies as the, pharmaceutical drugs do. But I believe in both. I'm like, hey, as a patient, my job is to prevent dialysis for you, right? So whatever I can do, medication-wise, let's do it. You cannot afford the medication or medication is a side effect, well, then we have to use it. But you can use your vitamins, your lifestyle, the entire thing has to be holistic. So you cannot just throw a medication on the patient and expect that everything will be great. It doesn't work that way. Interesting, recently, FDA, chief of FDA said, we had so much improvements. We have these great drugs right now. We are at the top of the world. But guess what? Nothing changed. Nothing in the diabetes world changed. People are not doing any better. What's up with that? He is the one saying that. He admits that with all this money we spend on diabetes, on these expensive drugs, we are not going anywhere, dude. I'm like, hello, thank you. Because we are not treating people right. We are treating people way too late anyhow. So, stage 4 kidney disease is kind of, the little late stage doesn't mean that you're going to go downhill. Just do whatever you can. You cannot get your kidney function back. But I'm hoping that with extra effort, Jody, you should be able to avoid dialysis, I'm hoping. What type of probiotic? I don't know much about it, line, but I'll tell you, the Bifidobacterium lactobacillus Saccharomyces are good ones. So definitely you can look into that. Those are the most common ones. Do statins harm your kidneys? No, they don't. Actually, they reduce your cholesterol. I mean, the statins have a lot of side effects. But one thing they do, for sure, is reducing your cholesterol. And if your cholesterol is really high, sometimes you have to do what you have to do and take statins to reduce your cholesterol. If you can tolerate, if you don't have any side effects, you can take a small dose and do what you need to do. Because like I said, cholesterol is normally not a bad thing. But when you have diabetes, when you have high glucose, not good. It can definitely cause problems with your system. Taking pills like Farxiga. Well, actually, forget about Farxiga. You're right. So Farxiga actually helped. You're right. Jardiance and Farxiga. SugarMD we talked about. We talked about losartan. We talked about the lisinopril type of things. But the Farxiga, the same way it's the same category. Like I would say, they are still the super expensive drugs. They have shown benefit in their studies for kidney disease reduction. Here's how they work. I'll tell you how they work quickly. So a lot of times you guys are given prescriptions and you have no idea what they do. So Carindia, all it does, it goes to a mineralocorticoid receptor, which is a receptor that is being overactivated because of the inflammation in your body. So in a sense, Carindia and losartan, these are anti-inflammatory medications for your kidneys. But what they do is they go all the way to the end and they try to close the door of all the inflammation coming in, trying to damage your kidneys. That's what the Carindia does. Now, with the Farxiga or Jardiance, what they do is they actually reduce the pressure from your kidneys. Remember, we talked about this example where you have to push pressure to go through to get the job done. With the less nephrons, with the less kidney you have to have more pressure. But the problem with that, though, it actually causes more damage. So you're trying to increase the pressure. It's like, your car is not going because of flat tire. And then what you're doing, you're pushing more of the gas to keep the speed, but your tires are going to be like, we're going to get worse. So you don't want to, when you have a flat tire, you don't want to go fast. But if you're on a highway, sometimes you have to, then that's what your kidneys do. Like your kidneys are, I got to get this job done. I've got to increase the pressure, but then increase pressure causes more damage. But Farxiga says, okay, let's back off. So let's reduce the pressure. A lot of times people who start on Farxiga and Carindia, you know what happens to them? Their kidney function looks like going down. And they'll freak out. Patients will freak out. Why? Well, because actually GFR is going down. The glomerular filtration rate is going down. So the glomerular filtration rate going down is actually not a bad thing. You know why? Because it is reducing the stress, the pressure on your kidneys. So as a result, yes, your kidneys will be able, it's not going to be able to filter as much, but at least it's going to last. So if you have a flat tire, you can go 50 miles an hour, you can keep the speed. Or if you reduce the speed, you can keep going. But if you want to insist on keep going fast, you're gonna destroy something. You're gonna be on your wheels and not the tires. And next thing you know, you have a fire. Your kidneys are the same way. You gotta give a break and say, look, my kidneys are half dead. Let's just give it a break and let it survive. Let it survive so it doesn't go to dialysis. It doesn't really. Those medications don't fix your kidneys. What they do is they just buy time. Okay, so that's what the medications do. Now, what the vitamins, the holistic things do, and your food, the regular size, they reduce the stress on your kidneys, the oxidative stress that is in the beginning, the root cause, what is causing the kidney damage. You have to stop that first. So, If you cannot afford anything, that's fine. At least try to stop introducing toxins to your body. That's the most important thing. Stop introducing toxins to your body that you don't want your kidneys to handle. Is plain Greek yogurt a good probiotic? Yes, it is a good probiotic. Just pay attention. Make sure that, some manufacturers treat it differently, where, if they pasteurize it after the culturing process, you have to make sure that they mention that there are active live cultures in the yogurt. Not every yogurt actually has that, believe it or not. Is this live stream going to be saved and emailed to us? We can probably we can do that, Martin, Mr. Martin, or Mrs. Martin. I will definitely try to do that. Do metformin. Okay, so that's a common question. So metformin is not going to damage kidneys. That is a misconception, okay? Now, what happens is metformin is cleared by the kidney. So you are going to retain more metformin in your body, and your kidneys are not working very well. And metformin induces an oxidative state in your system. And that can get aggravated in this setting of kidney failure. So we reduce the dose if the kidney function is going down. And people misunderstand, saying that, kidney caused damage, that's why the doctor is reducing or stopping the medication. Well, that's actually, there's no data that I can find in publications or nowhere that the metformin caused kidney damage. But again, some medication, you don't want to overdo it. The less is better. If you combine it with the berberine, the hydroberberine, that's a very good alternative to prevent too much metformin in your system. I think that's the best way, the middle way to go about metformin. Any foods shown to be extremely beneficial for eating meat if your kidneys are struggling? What about foods high in oxalates like spinach? Well, so Ketan, a couple of things here. So some meats are okay. Actually, meats have a lot of B vitamins, and so they are okay. The only thing is with too much meat, if you have advanced kidney disease like stage 3, stage 4, sometimes doctors will limit the protein amount because too much protein is creating that stress. That BUN, for example, the urea, that will increase with too much protein, and that has to be filtered, right? So you are basically giving extra job to your kidney to do when you're trying to save your kidneys. So that's not the best thing. In the early stages, it has not been shown to be harmful, like stage 1, stage 2. But once you enter stage 3, stage 4, you don't want to overdo proteins. Like, you cannot be a carnivore and stage 3, stage 4 kidney patient. It's just not a smart thing to do. Oxalates are a different story. Oxalates are basically, they combine with calcium and they create kidney stones, which is a totally different thing than a kidney failure. Kidney stones can fail your kidneys only if they block both of the kidneys at the same time. If you have a ton of stones that are large, they block the kidney like the ureters, and then they back up, and then that's what causes the failure. But in normal circumstances, like you have a small kidney stone, that's not going to do anything to your kidneys. But to get rid of the oxalates, the best way to deal with it is eating actually calcium. What happens when you eat calcium is the calcium in your intestine will bind the oxalate and will form a complex that cannot be absorbable from your intestine, and that will be excreted through feces. So oxalate becomes a problem if you are prone to kidney stones. Not for everybody, but if you are prone to kidney stones, if you have a family history or you have a personal history, then you need to make sure that if you're eating oxalate-containing foods like spinach, like chocolate, like some nuts, you need to combine it with, you have dairy in your diet. In this case, probiotics, yogurt will be a great option to add on. Some cheese, etc. Anything that has calcium will help. That's why I like to combine foods a lot, because if there is something that can be too much for your body, something else may bind it, and it prevents things from being too much, if that makes sense. Does Ozempic cause kidney damage? Well, in the label, it says it may, Mr. Wilson, because the only time that the Ozempic, again, does not cause kidney damage directly, but the reason it says on the label is that it can dehydrate you. And if you're not eating or drinking much, and if you're dehydrated, sometimes some people I have seen going into acute kidney failure that can be reversed because it's acute from dehydration. But by itself, on the long run, actually anything that helps your diabetes, that includes your Ozempic, that includes your vitamins, your herbs, anything will help your kidneys. Then at the end of the day, remember, glucose is your enemy. The glucose creates the advanced glycation end products. They sit in your cells or around your cells, in your cells, around your cells. They create that inflammation and create the apoptosis which is the cell death. So anything you can do to reduce glucose will be helpful. So Ozempic in that regard is not necessarily going to cause chronic, let's put it that way. It's not going to cause chronic kidney damage. Somebody said, how long can you take supplements? Well, most supplements, you can consider them food. So as long as you eat food, you can take your supplements. There are very few here and there supplements that are treated like medications in other countries. But with the supplements, you have to be careful, like food. You take calcium, if you're not having dairy. But if you're eating dairy 3 times a day, and if you're taking calcium tablets 3 times a day, then that's too much. I mean, it makes sense, right? So the point of supplement is, think about it, you're supplementing. So if you are having a lot of red meat in your diet, what's the point of taking iron? Unless you're losing a lot of iron. So if you're iron deficiency. So the reason that I recommend some supplements is when you have diabetes, your body uses a lot of vitamins to keep up with the oxidative damage. And elimination of vitamins that comes through the food is also, think like a woman who's having heavy periods and constantly losing blood, and she can eat as much as iron-containing food. It may not be enough to keep the iron levels. That's a common problem among female patients. And in older group, a lot of older patients will have a very small bleeding that may not be even visible on the colonoscopy or endoscopy, and they'll become anemic, and they're going to be like, look, I eat meat all the time, I eat food, I eat good iron, iron-containing food, how am I iron deficient? Well, because you're losing it. So the body is all about the balance. It's like, if you have a high inflation in the economy, and there are some countries, believe it or not, they have 30, 40, 50, 60%, 100% inflation rate. So if you have a 100% inflation rate in your country, that means that you have to make twice more money next year to survive. So in this case, when you're sick, unfortunately, your body utilizes, it's like a high inflation rate in the economy. Everything is overly used and stuff like that. So that's why we need supplementation. Not everybody, but I think there is no limit in terms of like, hey, you cannot use the supplement for longer than this and stuff like that. I've never seen that actually. So we actually passed our limit here. We are at 51 minutes. But thank you for sticking here. I am hopeful that you learned something today. And if you learned something, please pass the message to other people and, support our YouTube channel. You want it to grow. You want more people to know and learn and educate themselves. So thank you for watching today. I'm hoping that we are going to try to make this almost every weekend. And we're going to have a team. Please suggest what you want to hear, what you want to learn about, and we'll bring it to you. Thanks for watching today, and have a great evening, everybody.